Good afternoon, courtroom two. Just let me know when you all are ready to start.
Hello.
It'd be your reset day. It's one.
Okay, thanks. We ready to get going, courtroom two?
Good afternoon, Judge Mark. Can you start with ACDC?
Okay, I can. Good afternoon. Can I go ahead and make my general announcement before,
Sure.
I saw Officer Milton there a moment ago, but I don't see her there right now. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything that you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. If you do not have a private attorney, we are providing you with the assistance of a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize their services. Let's see, we can get started with ACDC if once Officer Milton gets back to the camera.
Your Honor, start with position number one, Ms. Sabrina Aneen.
My address is 4409 Pleasant Drive.
Okay, I'm not sure if Ms. O'Neill. In hearing range at AC/DC? Good afternoon, Officer Milton.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I was only able to get about 4 females interviewed, 2 of them, which is Attorney Cook, and I had to take them back and get the rest of the other ladies, because I have a total of 12 females over here. So I'm going back and forth.
Okay,
But,
so who would you like to start with?
Well, Attorney Cook is, I can start with Mr. McLean, client. Come on. I'm sorry, I don't have the position numbers with me. This is, Thomas Norwood.
What's the last name?
Thomas Norwood.
Thomas Dash Norwood.
Norwood?
It's Thomas Dash Norwood.
It's position number
Oh.
24, Judge.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Thomas Norwood. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007314C with battery family violence. Good afternoon, Ms. Hardy. Is there a history?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This defendant does not have any history to report.
Okay. Let's see. Ms.
That's my
Allen, good
case.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Let me get to my notes. Thank you for your patience.
Okay.
This is an incident that occurred on the 26th of October at about 3 a.m. Police were called to 3812 Lake Haven Way in East Point. There they met with the victim in this case, who's the husband of the defendant, Paul Norwood. He was seen to have scratches and swelling on his forearm. He reported that his wife had accused him of infidelity and smoking too much, and that during an argument, she grabbed him, which caused scratches on his arm. And then she picked up a vase and threw it at him, striking him in the arm, and that's what caused the swelling. He reported that this argument began on the patio. He went and retreated to his bedroom. The defendant followed him. He had a firearm, I believe in a holster. The victim reported that this firearm was never used, but that he did feel like he was about to be assaulted. He had nowhere else to retreat, and he was afraid. The defendant admitted that there'd been an argument in the patio. She admitted that she followed the victim to the bedroom and admitted grabbing him as well. She also admitted that the firearm was never used or threatened. We'd asked for SOB, Your Honor, since that's what she's eligible for. We spoke to the victim this morning, Mr. Norwood. He reports that they're married and live together. They have no children. He also reports this is not the first time that there's been violence towards him by the defendant, but it's also not the first time he's called the police. So we'd ask for a SOB through pretrial, since it looks like that's what she's eligible for, but no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and no violence with Mr. Paul Norwood, Your Honor.
Mr. Norwood, I see you on the line. If you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. I need for you to unmute yourself, and I'll have to swear you in if you.
I'm ready, sir.
Okay. If you can raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
Well, first of all, I would like to say I do love my wife dearly. And I'm just hoping that, that you will allow her to come back home so we can work on our differences.
Okay. Are you afraid of her?
No.
Would you like to have her back in the household?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you for being here this afternoon, Mr. Norwood.
Yes, sir.
Mr. McLean, is this your case?
It is, no objection, Your Honor.
Okay, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Mr. Norwood, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you both, Mr. and Ms. Norwood.
I apologize, Judge. What was the amount?
3,000 signature bond through pretrial.
And Your Honor, what position was that?
That was position number 24. Thomas Norwood is the last name. Okay, who do we have next?
Next is gonna be position number 11, Mr. Kenneth Holland.
Good afternoon, Mr. Holland. You've been charged in case 24CR007311Y with battery family violence. Is there a history?
That disposition.
The last arrest for this defendant was January the 9th, 2019, out of Fulton County for a probation violation. They have a total of 6 arrest cycles, felony conviction in 2012 for possession of cocaine with intent. Nothing further to report.
Good afternoon, Ms. Desiano.
Good afternoon, Judge. This incident took place on October 13th at 403 Fielding Lane. The victim is Ashley Bolin. She told the officer that her child's father had come over and was upset with her and attacked her. She had a scratch under her eye and scratches on her neck. There was another witness on scene who also spoke with officers whose name was Jordan Ashley. She stated the defendant grabbed the victim, held her against the wall by her neck, and then slammed her to the ground. And then once she was on the ground, struck her. At the time that the victim spoke with police, she was a little shaken up at what had happened, and she was a little fuzzy on the details. We have been in touch with Miss Bolin today. She states that these two are no longer in a relationship. They don't live together. They do have a child together. She said the night this happened, the defendant showed up to her residence unannounced to pick up his other child that she was keeping. She stated at that point, he grabbed her by the neck and slammed her on the bed. She said she can't remember everything that happened, but this is not the first time that he's been violent towards her. This is the first time that police have been called. She states that she does not want any contact and she wants for him to stay away from the residence. And Your Honor, in addition to his 2019 arrest for probation violation, his GCIC also has an arrest in 2019 for aggravated assault. The state's recommending a $2,500 surety bond, Your Honor, no contact, stay away, family violence intervention, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if Your Honor can sound for Ms. Bolin.
Ms. Bolin's on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so. Is this your case, Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, my client's 35 years old. He has an address, a good address. We have no objection to a stay away or no further contact, although we need some arrangement for the child, a third-party transfer, if possible. We would be seeking a signature bond, whatever level the court deems appropriate.
Okay, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. No further contact with Ashley Bolin. Stay away from the Fielding Lane address. Third-party transfer of any minor children for visitation. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Holland.
Thank you. You done. Next, Your Honor, we're gonna go to position number 7. He has private counsel, Mr. Gordon Goodman.
Good morning, Your Honor. Afternoon, Your Honor. Aaron Friedman here for Mr. Goodman.
Afternoon, Mr. Friedman.
It's good seeing you, Judge.
You also, thank you. Mr. Goodman, good afternoon. You have been charged in case 24CR007302H with driving under the influence of alcohol, less safe, possession of an open alcohol container, and improper erratic lane change. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
No, Your Honor, this defendant does not have any history to report.
Ms. Desiano?
Your Honor, this incident happened on October 26th. An officer was traveling on I-20 westbound behind the defendant when he observed his vehicle failed to maintain his lane multiple times and nearly strike another vehicle. The officer noted that while he was crossing the lane lines, he was also not using his turn signal. The officer initiated a traffic stop and made contact with the driver, immediately noticed a strong odor of alcohol on his breath. He asked the defendant how much he'd had to drink. The defendant had a few. There was also a red Solo cup in the front passenger compartment in the cup holder by the driver. He handed the cup to the officer, told him that it was Red Bull. The officer smelled it and it was clear there was alcohol in it. The officer then ran the defendant's license. It came back valid, asked the defendant to step out of the car. The defendant stated that he was coming from Morehouse Homecoming. He was again asked how much he'd had to drink. He said a few. Officer asked him to clarify. He said 2 or 3, and he said that he had been drinking vodka earlier that night. The officer performed the HGN test. The results of that test indicated impairment. Where they were pulled over, Your Honor, they were on the I-20 and 285 split, so it was not safe to do the walk and turn or the one leg stand. He read the defendant the implied consent, and he did refuse breath tests, but did agree to do to a blood test. This is his first arrest, Your Honor. The state's recommending a signature bond, no driving without a valid license, no weapons, no drugs, no alcohol.
Any objection to any of that, Mr. Friedman?
No, Your Honor, we just respectfully request the unsecured judicial release as stated by the state.
All right, for the DUI, it'll be a $2,000 good bond through pretrial level 1. The open alcohol container, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. The improper erratic lane change, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Okay. Good luck to you, Mr. Goodman. Anything further this afternoon, Mr. Friedman?
No, Your Honor, it was good seeing you. May I please be excused from this honorable court?
Yes, nice seeing you as well. You have a good afternoon.
And Judge, to be clear, you said $2,000 good bond. Did you mean?
I'm sorry, no, I did not mean a good bond. I meant they're all to be signature bonds through pretrial.
Okay,
So
thank
it's
you.
a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1.
Thank you for the clarity.
Thank you, Mr. Esiano.
Thank you. Next,
Thank you, Your Honor.
we're gonna go to position number 2, Ms. Butler.
Hello,
Oh, hang on.
and I'm a judge, Your Honor, for DeKalb County.
Hey, Ms. Butler.
Oh.
Butler, hold on for a second. Let the judge talk for a second.
I
Okay?
didn't do nothing.
I know.
Okay, you ready for me, Norris?
I'm ready for you.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. Butler. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007297D with simple battery, 2 counts against a police officer, 2 counts of disorderly conduct, and willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
This defendant's last arrest was June the 17th, 2024, out of DeKalb for a probation violation. They have a total of 14 arrest cycles out of Georgia. Misdemeanor conviction in 2024 for battery family violence. Felony conviction in 2022 for identity theft. They received first offender treatment on that. No seal date was listed. And also in 2024, felony conviction for interference with government property. There appears to be a hold out of Jonesboro for a probation violation, and the date of that warrant is August the 5th, 2024. Nothing further to report.
Ms. Desiano?
And Your Honor, in addition to what pretrial stated, she's also been arrested 2 additional times this year for separate probation violations. So based on what pretrial said, I believe we're on the 4th arrest this year for probation violation, in addition to the arrests for new crimes. This incident took place on October 23rd, around 8 o'clock at night. Incident location is 49 Boulevard. The victims in this case are Matthew Dixon and Coraliz Juarez. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing. It's KORALYZXUAREZ. They reported being assaulted by an unknown female. They parked and they were walking down the street to go get some dinner. The defendant approached them, yelling, got in their face, was cussing, very threatening. They tried to ignore her. They continued walking. At that point, the defendant then struck them each in the head from the back. At that point, the male, Mr. Dixon, turned around and grabbed the defendant's hands. She fled for a moment, came back, and struck the male again, but this time in the face multiple times. He had a busted lip. He has black eyes. He has swelling. The defendant was throwing punches and slapping the other victim as well. However, there were no visible injuries on the second victim. At that point, passerbys were getting involved and yelling. The defendant eventually ran off. The officers were able to locate her not far down the street based on the description that was given by the witnesses on scene. She was screaming, yelling, irate to the point where the officer had to draw the firearm on her and order her to get to the ground. She did initially comply with that command, and while the officer was handcuffing her, her left arm got loose, and at that point, she started flailing. She kicked the officer, tried to flee. She spit on him. He eventually got her into his vehicle. However, she stated she was pregnant, so he could not put the handcuffs behind her back. They had to go in front of her for safety reasons. And because they were in front of her, she continued to spit on the officer, and he was putting a spit mask on her, but she just kept taking it off because of where the handcuffs were. At that point, he was trying to get her transported to the hospital to be checked out. It appeared there was some kind of MH crisis going on. All the while threatening to assault him, screaming, cursing. They did get to the hospital, and she did apologize for her behavior and then quickly started again. And it was the hospital's impression there was something going on here. We've been in touch with the two civilian victims, Your Honor. Ms. Juarez states she confirmed the events in the warrant. She states she's never seen or spoken to the defendant before. It was an unprovoked attack. She obviously wants no contact. She states that the other victim got the worst of it, and he's actually going to the hospital today to make sure that he doesn't have a fracture in his eye. We've been in touch with Mr. Dixon as well. He confirmed the events in the warrant. He's injured and he wants no contact. Your Honor, the state's recommending a $5,500 surety bond, $1,000 on counts 1 through 4, all the batteries, and then $500 on 5, 6, and 7. No contact with the civilian victims, no further violent contact with law enforcement, stay away from the incident location. We're also asking for a BH or MHET, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if Your Honor can sound for Mr. Dixon and Ms. Juarez.
Mr. Dixon or Ms. Suarez, if either of you on the line and wish to address the court, now's your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 27 years old, appears to be homeless. It's hard to get any more information from her. We would certainly have no objection to the BHET. I think that's probably the best place to start, and then work our way up if necessary. Obviously, no job, no income, no savings. We would like, assuming the signature bonds out of the question, we would seek a surety bond at as low a figure as possible, and I would get the social workers out there as quickly as possible. Nothing further.
Okay, the SAP reset date, I've been told, will be November 12th. For the battery, for each of the charges, it'll be a $500 good bond. So that makes for a total of a $3,500 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Suarez or Mr. Dixon, a BHET, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Butler.
Your Honor, you said 500 for each charge?
And my dad, God, too. I'm not gonna argue with you. Let me go.
Yes, that's correct.
That's a total of 3,500, Your Honor.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Who do we have next?
Your Honor, can we do Ms. Heard?
She's position 9, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Heard. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007305A with battery, family violence, and simple battery against a police officer. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest for this defendant was August the 14th, 2024 out of Fulton County, for aggravated assault. That case is still open under 24 PI 005896. They have a total of 2 arrest cycles. Nothing further to report.
Thank you. Jessiana?
Your Honor, I'm also showing that she has an open battery family violence in Clayton County from an arrest the month before the aggravated assault. So a July arrest for battery family violence in Clayton, and then an aggravated assault in Fulton, and then this arrest. This incident took place on October 25th. The incident location is 1954 Dunlap Avenue in East Point, apartment 5. Officers responded to a fight call. Initially, the officers spoke with the defendant, who stated that she and her boyfriend, who's the victim in this case, Davian Shackelford, were arguing. The victim told her to get out of the car. She went up to the apartment and tried to block the defendant from getting inside. He got in. There was a tussle at the door. She hit a pot on the stove that had grease in it, and the grease fell on the floor, and so it made it a slippery situation. When the victim was able to get into the door, he stated that they started wrestling, and especially so because the floor was very slippery. The victim had injuries. He had small cuts on his face, a bump on his forehead. He wouldn't tell the officers how he was injured. However, given the circumstances of the fight and that he was injured and the defendant was not, she was determined to be the primary aggressor. Both parties were actually arrested, Your Honor. The defendant on these charges, and then the victim had an outstanding unrelated warrant from Douglas County. So because he was also arrested on an unrelated incident, we've not been in touch with him today. The state's requesting a $3,000 surety bond, Your Honor, $2,000 on the battery. I'm sorry, I didn't give you the factual basis for that. When she got to the jail, she was in a holding cell and she spit on an officer, and that's the basis for this. So we're asking for a $3,000 surety, $2,000 on the battery, $1,000 on the simple battery against law enforcement, no contact with Mr. Shackelford, stay away from the incident location, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if Your Honor, for the record, can sound for the defendant, although the victim, I believe he's still incarcerated.
Mr. Shackelford is with us and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 27 years old. Yes, Mr. Shackelford is her boyfriend, or was, obviously. He was arrested, and then he had other arrangements in Douglas County. I think he may have bonded out. I'm not sure. In Fulton County, I don't believe the charges were dropped, but I have not been able to get in touch with him either. Her position is that he was the primary aggressor. We would be seeking, well, she's not employed at the moment. We would be asking for a signature bond as low as possible, given her modest financial circumstances. And of course, has no problem with any stay away or no further contact. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, for the battery, it'll be a $2,000 good bond. For the simple battery, $1,000 good bond, makes for a total of a $3,000 good bond. No further contact with Mr. Shackelford. Stay away from the Dunlap Avenue address. If necessary, she can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Hurd.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What position was that, Your Honor?
That was position number 9, Hurd.
And the bond amount?
Say it again.
And what was the bond amount?
2,000 for the battery, 1,000 for the simple battery, a total of 3,000 good.
Thank you. We're gonna go
Okay.
to position number 25, Mr. Orrin Warner.
Good afternoon, Mr. Warren. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007290E with criminal trespass. Is your history, sorry?
The last, excuse me, the last arrest for this defendant was October the 6th, 2024, out of East Point for false name, address, or birth date to law enforcement. That case is open and they're being supervised by pretrial, so we'll be surrendering their bond. That case number is 24 CR 006899E. They have a total of 19 arrest cycles in Georgia. a misdemeanor conviction in 2016 and 2017 for disorderly conduct. Nothing further to report.
Okay,
Your
yes,
Honor,
Ms.
that's
Allen.
my case. Thank you. I just thought maybe I'd pulled that bond. Yes. So the open bond for Mr. Warner was signed by you on October the 7th. This is an issue involving his presence at City Hall in East Point. So he's been ordered to stay away from that location, and a BHET was ordered as well as a social worker visit. So that's the bond on the current case that pretrial just announced they'd be coming off of. The case in front of you today is from the 25th of October at about midnight. Police were dispatched again to Main Street in East Point. This time the address is 2139. It's the BP gas station there. It's reported that the defendant had been criminally trespassed, or he was asked to leave multiple times there on that evening, but he continued to try to enter the location and then remained on the premises when being asked to leave by staff. He was seen blocking the entrance and wouldn't allow customers to come into the building. This was observed by police. He told police he didn't care, he wasn't going to leave, and just refused blatantly. So we'd ask for a $3,000 cash bond, Your Honor. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Stay away from the location. Again, that's the BP at 2139, and we would ask for a mental health evaluation at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Whose case is this? Mr. McLean, Mr. Cook,
That should be Mr. McLean.
you with me, Mr. McLean? Might be on the telephone or something. Mr. McLean? You're on mute if you're talking to me.
I've got the volume low while I'm talking to other clients. Yes, Your Honor. Which one we got?
Okay, we've gotten all the way through Mr. Warner, so I don't know if you've been listening or not. Position number 25?
Okay, on Mr. Warner, I have not yet entered. Well, yes, I have. Hold on. Okay, I just want to make sure I've got all the W names correct. What was the recommendation?
$3,000 cash bond, stay away from the BP in East Point, social worker visit, mental health evaluation. I just gave him a bond on October 7th that had a request for a BHET and a social worker visit.
Your Honor, based on my interview, I do agree with the social worker visit and the MHET. I would hope for maybe a lower bond, but other than just arguing about the number, I understand that we need to get those evaluations done.
Okay, so you're gonna get me an order for an MHET?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, so in that case, it'll be $1,000 good bond. Stay away from the BP gas station location, an MHET, which you'll get me an order to sign for. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Good luck to you, Mr. Warner.
I'll get that order today or in the morning, but I'll also talk to Paul. We'll have
Okay,
a-
well, he'll be on the SAP calendar on November 12th, so we'll want to move it forward at that time.
Very good. November the 12th. Got it.
That's the SAP date, yes.
All right, here we go. Come on.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry to be on mute before.
No, you're fine. Who do we have next?
Your Honor, can we do position 1, Anene?
Okay,
Okay. Back to mute.
good afternoon, Ms. Anene. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007295Y with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
No, Your Honor, this defendant does not have any history.
Okay.
Excuse, Judge.
Yes, Ms. Sessiano.
Your Honor, this is an incident that happened on the 27th at 12100 Wildwood Springs Drive in Roswell. The victim in this case is the defendant's father. His name is Shuka Anini. I apologize, Mr. Anini, if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. That's dad. There was an argument and the defendant damaged a picture frame, and it said, the warrant says bent a door in half. She was kicking a closet door and destroyed the door. When the police arrived on scene, the defendant was cleaning up. She was very emotional. She did admit to smashing the picture off the mantle and breaking the door. We've been in touch with dad today. He's also on the Zoom. He states they lived together. He called police because he wanted to calm her down. She was very upset. He's not in fear and would like contact, and this is her first arrest, Judge. So we're requesting an SOB, no further violent contact, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Nini. If you would like to address the court, I need for you to raise your right hand for me, please.
Yes, Your
Do
Honor.
do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
Your Honor, it's quite an emotional day for me.
I understand, sir.
I'm sorry. My heart is really broken for the mental trauma due to family dysfunction inflicted on our children over the past 20 years. She was clearly frustrated, because she's made so much efforts to help our family. So sorry. So, Your Honor, we shouldn't be here today, but my daughter was caught on this unfortunate crossfire with her attempts trying to bring lasting peace between her parents. It is really unfortunate, and I feel so bad and embarrassed. I'm deeply sorry. The harm by two unreasonable human beings that should have known better. And here we are, Your Honor. I'm so sorry.
No need to be sorry, Mr. Nini.
I would trade places with my daughter right now because she's a good kid. And it's no fault of her own, Your Honor.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, Mr.
Your
Nini.
Honor, the pain she has endured is just unthinkable. And I'm so sorry that, I'm wasting the court's time. I thought the police would come and calm her down, and that would be the end of it. But unfortunately, they said they're going to take her into Fulton County Jail. And there was nothing I could do. I asked them, can they let's just let this go? She's not a threat to me. She's, we could have fixed this, but I'm so sorry. I'm just broken. I'm not imagine what my daughter's going through right now.
You all live together at the Wildwood Springs address?
Yes.
Okay. And you needed the officers' help to kind of calm your daughter down that day?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
You needed the police officers' help to calm the situation down.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Do you want her back at the Wildwood Springs address?
Yes, Your Honor. You can come back. I can leave. Your Honor, I would trade places with her right now. She's free and welcome to come back to this house. She's a good kid, and she's been praying for us and everything, but it's not working.
Okay. Mr. Anini, this is only a bond hearing, and from what you're telling me, I'm not understanding what's going on in your family. There obviously is something going on that the court is not aware of beyond this, this criminal trespass matter. I just want to make sure that everyone's going to be safe.
Yes, Your Honor.
If she's allowed to come back into the household, are you telling me that everyone's going to be safe in that household?
Yes, Your Honor. Everybody's going to be safe.
Okay, and who else resides with you in that household?
My wife is here, and his brother, her brother, CJ, and her grandmother lives in the basement. She's been living with us for over 19 years, and other issues, we're trying to sort out.
Okay.
So I'm the only silver lining is I hope this is a page to turn, and be it as it may, will be a very right step in the right direction to resolve some of these lingering issues over the years.
All right. Thank you for being here this afternoon, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, given what we've heard and given the lack of a record, we would be asking for a signature bond through the jail and for the ability to return home to the Wildwood Springs Drive if the court wishes to make that no further violent contact. We would not object to that. Nothing further.
Okay. I'm gonna have it go through pretrial. It'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Mr. Anini, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you both.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're
Your
welcome.
Honor, I have a quick question. On the calendar, it says criminal trespass,
Yes.
but on the booking sheet, it has battery, family violence. So what happened with that?
Mr. Essiano, do you?
Oh, no. I apologize.
I only saw criminal
It's not
trespass.
I didn't get enough sleep last night.
Okay, all
You're
right.
worried about those Yankees, Officer Norris.
All right, so we're good?
We're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Who do we have next?
This is gonna be position number 6, Ms. Sharon. How you say your name? Isaiah Core.
And this is Miss. Where is Mrs. Ziacor?
Right here in position 6 in courtroom 2.
Okay. And where was Miss Anine?
She was in
ACDC.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. Mrs. Ziacor, good afternoon. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007301E with battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
No history to report at this time.
Mr. Essiano?
Your Honor, this incident took place on October 26th, incident location 5755 Glenridge Drive in Sandy Springs. The victim in this case is Oluwarotimi Adeyinka, Oluwarotimi, last name Adeyinka. He reported that the defendant scratched him in the face with car keys. They lived together. There were 911 calls that came in regarding an argument between a man and a woman and items being thrown outside. The argument then moved into the hallway and into the parking area of the incident location. The police arrived and the parties were still arguing. The victim states that the argument with his girlfriend, he was trying to leave. She kept pushing him back. He, at one point, picked her up and put her on the couch. He then fell. He says that she was trying to strike him, struck him with the keys. He had scratches and cuts on his face from being struck with the keys, and that's when police arrived. We've not been in touch with the victim today, Your Honor, but as our first arrest, the state's requesting a signature bond through pretrial, no contact, stay away, anger awareness, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol, and if Your Honor can sound for the victim. Thank you.
Okay, would you pronounce the alleged victim's name for me, Mr. Essiano?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask, Your Honor.
Better you than me.
Oluwarotimi Adeyinka. My best go.
I won't argue with that.
If you're on the line and wish to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Mr. Cook?
Your Honor, we would not object to the state's recommendation.
Okay, so it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Given that no one has heard from the alleged victim, no further contact at this point in time, stay away from the Glen Ridge Drive address. She can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck. Your client has her hand up, Mr. Cook.
I would prefer you've got a signature bond. We're not gonna try the case today.
It
That's
might have
like,
something to do with the stay away.
okay, well,
That's
okay,
what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah,
okay.
my parents got that, I'm in nursing school, and my parents got that place for me, so I can continue the 5755 Glenridge Drive. Rotimi Adeyinka doesn't live at that residence, he does come to visit. And there were a few kind of like discrepancies in the story, but there is video evidence that I do have.
Okay, hold on. I just want to address. So what I'll do is, I'll allow you to have a one-time police officer escort back to the Glenwood Drive address. If the alleged victim is not at that address, you can stay there, but if he is there, then you're gonna have to get your belongings and go elsewhere. But if he's not there, I'm gonna allow you to stay there, okay?
Yes, I apologize, Your Honor. She did mention she thought he lived in Tacoma. And so
Okay, very good. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Position was that we just did?
Position number 6.
This is gonna be position number 27, Mr. Jerry Williams.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Williams. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007316F with loitering and prowling. Is there a history?
No history to report at this time.
Yes, Miss Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on October the 27th between 5 and 7 a.m. at the area of 606 Seminole Avenue Northwest. That's a neighborhood. The defendant and 2 other co-defendants were seen in the parking lot pulling on the handles of car doors and looking into cars. Witnesses reported and described their clothing. Police located the 3 individuals nearby. This young man had a firearm in his possession. One of his other co-defendants had a window puncher tool in his possession, and the other had a ski mask and a screwdriver in his possession. The defendant does not live at the location there. He lives in Snellville. We're asking for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor, based on the fact that this is a situation that poses a danger to the public. We're asking that the defendant be ordered to stay away from that location and have no contact with his co-defendants. Their names are Ryan Walker and Robert Lee Allen. We'd also request no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cook?
This is Mr. McLean's case, Your Honor.
Oh, thank you. Ms. McLean?
That's my case, Your Honor. I was listening. Did I understand that to be a signature bond? No, it was a surety bond they were requesting. Your Honor, I would suggest to the court that what I've got down from my public safety assessment is no prior arrest. If that's correct, I certainly would ask for a signature bond, Your Honor.
Okay. Given that this is his first arrest, a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, stay away from the Seminole Avenue area location, no further contact with Mr. Walker or Mr. Allen, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Williams.
Your Honor, can we do Miss Tierra Smith? She is position 22.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ms. Smith. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007307J with battery. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest for this defendant was June the 16th, 2023 out of Clayton County for criminal trespass. They have a total of 5 arrest cycles out of Georgia. Misdemeanor conviction in 2024 for criminal trespass. Nothing further to report.
Your
Yes,
Honor,
Ms.
Ms. Smith is also a dual arrest. Her co-defendant is position number 3, Karima Crenshaw.
Okay,
Let's see. Ms. Smith does appear to have an open battery and criminal trespass in Clayton County. Conviction for 2 counts of criminal trespass out of Clayton County from 2022. This incident occurred on the 26th of October. At about 4 a.m., police were called to 3150 Summit Crest Southwest. There they spoke to Mrs. Smith as well as her co-defendant, Mrs. Crenshaw. Mrs. Smith was outside of the location and spoke with police. She reported being engaged in a physical altercation with 3 other women. She reported being jumped. She had a, let's see, scratch on her left eyebrow that appeared fresh, but she tried to tell police that there was an altercation that had happened, but it wasn't that day. It was a prior incident. That was not corroborated by the other people at the location. Mrs. Crenshaw was seen to have a bruised and swollen forehead. She also required medical attention. Mrs. Crenshaw, co-defendant in position number 3, also reported that she'd been trying to move things from the house, and Mrs. Smith became angry about some of the items she was taking. They are also noted to have some tension because they have a gentleman in common. So this might be a love triangle, but both individuals made admissions about engaging in a physical altercation. So this young lady, Mrs. Smith, is charged with a battery based on the swollen forehead of her co-defendant. We'd asked for a $2,000 surety. She's currently out on bond for a similar case out of Clayton County to stay away from the location at 3150 Summit Crest Southwest. No contact with Mrs. Crenshaw in position 3, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
will you repeat your bond request, the money amount for me?
I said $2,000 surety, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. McLeod, is this your case? Oh,
No,
Ms.
Your Honor, it isn't. I represent Miss Crenshaw, but I haven't had a chance to speak with her yet.
Okay, so we're gonna have to have Ms. McLeod speak to Ms. Crenshaw. Is this your case, Mr. McLean?
It is, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
Your Honor, my client is 22 years old. She's just started a job at UPS. She's very enthused about that job. She's very concerned about losing that job if she stays in jail because she doesn't have a whole lot of money. Before this, she's only 22, but since I believe she told me she graduated high school, so I was quizzing her about the ensuing 4 years after high school. And she tells me she was self-employed doing hair. And a lot of people do pretty well on that, but she's decided to stop being self-employed and wants the stability of a corporation and the pension and that sort of thing. So she's maturing, she's growing up. This is an unfortunate incident. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond.
Who lives at the Summit Crest address?
Let's see. I wrote down, instead of Summit Crest, excuse me, not Crust. I wrote down 1127 Jones. Is that the place that was?
You're asking for a stay away from Summit Crest, I believe.
I think that's not a problem. If I remember correctly, I've got this Jones thing here that she can stay away from Summit.
Okay. As such, it'll be $1,000 good bond, no further contact with Ms. Crenshaw, stay away from the Summit Crest address, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Smith.
Thank you. Excuse me, Your Honor, I will be back with Ms. Crenshaw in a little while.
Okay, thank you.
This is going to be position number 14, Mr. Melvin Johnson in courtroom 2.
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Johnson. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007294G with simple battery, family violence, and giving false information to law enforcement. Is there a history?
Last arrest for this defendant was June the 28th, 2023 out of Spalding for an FTA. They have a total of 11 arrest cycles in Georgia. misdemeanor conviction in 2006 for simple battery, 2023 simple battery family violence. There was a felony conviction in
Ms. Hardy,
2000.
Ms. Hardy, I'm sorry. Someone needs to mute because I'm getting feedback from you. Do we know who that is?
It may have been the courtroom judge. I muted them.
It wasn't a courtroom. We're quiet in here.
Hold on, I still hear it. Give me 1 second.
It sounds like another pretrial person.
Is someone speaking near you, Ms. Hardy?
Across the room,
Okay.
yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so that's what I'm hearing. That's kind of interfering with what you are telling the court. All right, I guess we'll just have to make it through it. If you could continue for me, please.
Okay, a felony conviction in 2003 for marijuana with intent. There appears to be a hold out of Griffin for a probation violation, and the date of that is December 20th, 2023. Nothing further to report.
Ms.
And
Sessiano?
Your Honor, he has a 2015 conviction for battery, family violence, and cruelty in the third. And I'm not sure if you caught that he has a 2023 simple battery, family violence.
Okay, thank you.
This is an incident that took place in the wee hours, early morning on October 27th. Officers responded to a 911 call regarding a fight. Incident location is 996 Ashby Terrace Northwest in Atlanta. The victim in this case is London Porter. She's the defendant's daughter. She reported that her dad was drinking all night long. He was pacing back and forth. There were verbal arguments. At one point, she got upset and locked her dad outside of the residence. He broke a window to get back inside and then struck the victim, in the stomach. The victim's mother, who's witnessed the incident as well, she confirmed the victim's statements. The officer asked the defendant for his name. He did note that there was a very strong odor of alcohol in his breath, and the defendant stated his name was John Doe. The victim, Your Honor, is 12 years old, so we have been in touch with her mother, who's Elizabeth Porter, who's on the Zoom this afternoon. She states that the defendant was up in the middle of the night, early morning, very intoxicated, disturbing the house. Everyone was trying to sleep. He stated that the defendant was leaving. He walked outside. The victim closed and locked the door. He tried to get back in the house. The door was obviously locked. He couldn't get in. He came in through a window, punched the victim in the stomach. She states that the defendant lives there on and off. He's been there for the past 3 weeks or so. She states he needs help with his drinking, that he's violent towards their oldest daughter as well. There's a case currently pending in Spalding County for the warrant. I believe it may be a probation violation. She states that she does not want contact for her or her daughter. She wants him to stay away from the residence, and he will need a one-time law enforcement escort to retrieve his belongings. Judge, the state's requesting a $2,000 good bond, the $1,500 on the simple battery, $500 on the giving false name. To the jail, I will submit an NOD for the cruelty to children charge. We're requesting no contact, stay away, family violence intervention, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if Your Honor can sound for Miss Elizabeth Porter, that's London's mother.
Ms. Porter, I see you there. If you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. If so, you'll need to unmute yourself for me. Raise your right hand.
Yes, sir.
I believe it's the other hand, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court, Ms. Porter?
That I think that he needs major help with rehab and seek Alcohol Anonymous of some sort. But my daughter is, if he wants to see her, he has to be in a third party for visitation.
Okay. Well, given that she's the alleged victim here today, until things are worked out, I'm not going to have him have any contact with either you or your daughter at this time.
I just thought maybe with, meet a defect or something to have a third party if she wanted to see him. But no contact is fine.
Okay, thank you for being here this afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 58 years old. I spoke to him about the possibility of a stay away and no further contact. He does have another place he can stay. Apparently he was only at that location intermittently. So we would have no objection to that. We would object to the intervention program. He is a self-employed. He works in home improvement. That's an up and down financial situation. So his income is very modest and his savings are pretty close to zero. We would be asking therefore for the lowest possible surety bond, given that we suspect signature bonds out of the question. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, for the simple battery, it'll be a $750 good bond. For the false information, a $250 good bond, makes for a total of $1,000 good bond. No further contact with London Porter or Elizabeth Porter at the present time. Stay away from the Ashby Terrace address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he may have there. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck, Mr. Johnson. You as well, Ms. Porter.
Next, Your Honor, we're gonna go to position number 13, Mr. Rashawn Holloway.
Good afternoon, Mr. Holloway. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007308Y with battery family violence, 2 counts of cruelty to children in the 3rd degree, and obstructing or hindering persons making an emergency telephone call. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest for this defendant was September the 19th, 2011, out of Clayton County for simple battery. They have a total of 2 arrest cycles in Georgia. Misdemeanor conviction in 2011 for theft by shoplifting. Nothing further to report.
Ms. Tessiano?
Your Honor, this incident took place on October 27th. Officers responded to a domestic dispute at 2778 Vineyards Drive, apartment 1016. The victim in this case is Shantrista Spence. There's also 2 minor children that witnessed the incidents here, initials AB and AS. The victim's minor son is actually who called the police, and he told them that his mom's boyfriend is choking her. The officers also spoke with the other minor child, AS, who was also very visibly upset during this entire situation. The victim, Miss Spence, advised that she was driving home with the defendant from Popeyes. She got a call from a male. This upset the defendant. He got very aggressive. He forcefully grabbed her face, took her up to their apartment. The argument continued. The little boy went to grab the phone to call 911. The defendant told him, "I'm going to slam her if you grab the phone." The little boy then went to the neighbor's house to call the police. The victim had scratches on her face, near her nose and her mouth. And obviously her children were very shaken up by what they had just witnessed. We've been in touch with Ms. Spence today. She states that she and the defendant are in a relationship and they live together at the incident location. They do not have any children together. She stated he was upset. She got a call, grabbed her by the neck with one hand and put his hand over her mouth with the other hand. She stated that he was applying pressure and covering her mouth so no one could hear her scream. She states that she, while she was doing this, she was unable to talk, but she did not feel like she was going to lose consciousness. She said she can't remember everything because so much was going on, but at one point, the defendant had her on the ground with his knee on her back. She said both of her kids were present. They were very scared and crying. This is not the first time that he's been violent towards her. This is the first time that he's been arrested. However, the police have been involved in the past when no arrests were made. She's currently in fear for what he may do at this point and would like no contact and would like for him to stay away from her residence. And she states he will need a one-time law enforcement escort to retrieve his belongings. Your Honor, the state's requesting a $2,000 surety on the battery, a $500 on the remaining counts, no contact with the victim or her children, stay away from the incident location, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. And if Your Honor can sound for Ms. Spence.
If Ms. Spence is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so. Mr. Cook.
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 33 years old. He is on SSI disability, so he has a very modest income. He does have another place he can live, so we don't object to any kind of stay away or no further contact. Obviously, given his modest income and previous record, we would be just asking for the lowest surety bond possible. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. For the battery, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. For each of the cruelties will be a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. For the obstruction, a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2, makes for a total of a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Ms. Spence or the children. Stay away from the incident location. He can go back to that location on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck, Mr. Holloway.
Thank you.
You okay now? Next, Your Honor, is going to be position number 4, Mr. Dillard, Jamarcus Dillard.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dillard. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007299A with discharge of firearms on or near public highway or street, discharge of firearms on property of another, criminal trespass and damage to property, and reckless conduct. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest was June the 13th, 2023 out of Clayton County for battery. That is their only arrest cycle. Nothing further to report.
Essiano?
Your Honor, in addition to the battery, he was also arrested for cruelty to children in the 1st degree. That case is open in Clayton County. He also has a juvenile arrest for a pretty serious CWAC charge. This case happened on the 27th at the Atlanta package store. Incident location is 2655 Donnelly Howell Parkway. Officers responded to shots fired. The caller to 911, his name is Andy Beasley. He reported that his child's mother, whose name is Courtney Dillard, was involved in an incident at the location. Mr. Beasley stated that Miss Dillard was arguing with someone named Denario, and shots were fired and they fled the location. Officers reviewed the security footage at the location. It shows Miss Dillard's vehicle pull up to the location. She exits the driver's seat. Another person gets out of the behind the driver's seat, and the defendant is with her and exits the front passenger seat. Miss Dillard is seen engaging in a verbal dispute with the male that police believe to be Denario. And during this confrontation, Miss Dillard appears to spit on Denario. And then at that point, the defendant brandished a firearm and fired a shot toward Denario at close range, but misses. At that point, the other person that was with them, that was previously behind Miss Dillard in the car, gets in the driver's seat. The defendant is still firing shots and backing up and gets into the passenger seat, and that vehicle drives off and they depart the scene. At some point, the defendant returns back to the location. Officers Mirandize him. The firearm that was in his possession was a Glock 19. It was confirmed stolen out of South Fulton. The defendant claimed to police that he purchased the firearm at a gun show and that he had a receipt for the same. He admitted firing 8 shots and explained that there are apparently several ongoing disputes with Miss Dillard, who is the defendant's mother, is our understanding. There is also video footage from the package store that shows Mrs. Diller getting into a physical altercation with another person who was not Denario, who was the person that the defendant was shooting at. At some point, the video also shows Denario reach for a firearm. He does not fire the firearm. And no one can confirm Denario's identity. After the shots were fired in the parking lot, some of them hit another vehicle for an unrelated person. The owner of the vehicle is actually a corporation. It's a Volkswagen Tiguan. The bullet struck a tire, deflating it, and then also cracked the windshield. That's the basis for the criminal trespass, Your Honor. So defendant is charged at this point with firing a weapon near a roadway, firing a weapon on the property of the package store without the owner's consent, criminal trespass for the damage to the Volkswagen, and then reckless conduct for firing a bunch of shots in a crowded parking lot, Your Honor. This is a very serious case, and assuming if the officers can confirm the identity of the Denario in this situation, this case will be upgraded. He's got that open battery case in Clayton County, Your Honor, and we're working to get a copy of that bond order. However, it probably has a provision that prohibits the defendant from possessing a firearm at this point. So there's certainly a concern for the public here. The state's requesting a $16,000 surety bond, $5,000 on counts 1, 2, and 4, and $1,000 on the criminal trespass, Your Honor. Absolutely no firearms. Stay away from the incident location. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
Thank you. Mr. Cook.
Yes, sir. My client is 22 years old. He is not working, so he has no income or savings. We have no objection to the conditions of bond. We would be seeking a significantly lower, we understand it almost certainly be a surety bond, but we would be requesting a significantly lower money figure than suggested by the state. Nothing further.
Okay, for each charge, it'll be a $2,000 good bond, makes for a total of a $8,000 good bond. Stay away from the Donnelly Parkway, package store address, surrender all firearms, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Dillon.
Thank you. Go to the third row. So how much did it be? 8,000, about $1,000. Your Honor, unfortunately, we got a lot of people on here with some names that shouldn't be on Zoom in court. Maybe we could put them in the waiting room. I believe this is very disrespectful to the court and to you.
Okay, I
see
really.
Bite My Apple. I see Big Mofro from below.
Okay.
Put in the waiting room. This is disrespectful.
All right, so let's see.
Strong.
Is Strong.
I put those two in the waiting room. Did you,
Why don't we
Norris,
do-
did you see somebody else that need to be put in there besides the two that you mentioned? I'm looking at it, but my screen is not full, so I can't see like you may be able to.
I see one that says 01.
And the one that said ... I don't know if that one was still over there. I took them out, but they keep trying to get in, so I'll put them in the waiting
Okay,
room.
and just, I'm happy to have them here, but they're gonna have to give me their names. So if you all want to put your names there so that the court knows who you are, I'm happy to have you here. Otherwise, we're gonna keep you in the waiting room. So if you want to place your names, go ahead and place your names there so we don't have to put you in the waiting room. You can go ahead and do that. The iPhone 2, whoever's due, the Motorola Raise, the Test iPhone, Miss Jessica, Miss Brandy. Just give me your names and we're happy to have you here.
Thank you, Your Honor. Next is going to be position number 21, Mr. Umani Robinson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Robinson. You've been charged in case 24 CR 0073038 with battery family violence. There a history, Ms. Hardy?
Disposition number 21,
Yes.
no history to report at this time.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on October the 27th. Police were called to 3225 Sunflower Way. That's in Alpharetta. The victim in this case is reported to be Mr. Robinson's father. His name is Daryl Robinson. When police arrived at the location, they actually met the defendant at a gas station. And he had an opportunity to speak to police first. He said that he'd had an altercation with his father, Daryl, because his dad attacked his dog, that his father had been clipping the dog's nails and the dog bit him, and his father was rough with the dog and injured the dog on the face. The young man in front of you, Mr. Yamani Robinson, reported that he confronted his dad after he saw that his dog had a head injury. And in response, his father grabbed him and tossed him around the house and held him down on the ground. He showed police that he had some scrapes on his elbows. After speaking with the defendant off-site, police relocated to the residence. Again, that's 3225 Sunflower Way in Alpharetta. There they spoke with Daryl Robinson, the father. He did corroborate that he'd been clipping the dog's nails and that he must have hit the dog too low and the dog bit him. He said that the police actually saw the injury to Daryl based on the bite of the dog. He said he got the dog off of him and disciplined the dog and then led the dog downstairs to the basement, but he pushed the dog while he was doing so because the dog was going too slow. And he said that's how the dog fell and injured his head. Police asked to see the dog and did note that there was a gash to the head of the dog and that there'd been medicine applied. The defendant was Dad Daryl was asked about the altercation with his son, and the same information was provided. He said that he came upstairs and his son was upset that the young man in front of you went downstairs and got the dogs and brought them back upstairs and was yelling at his father as he was holding the dog. There's actually a second dog as well. Dad Daryl said that the dogs were barking, his son was yelling at him, and so he pushed the dogs and his son back, and in response, his son grabbed him by his arms and shoved him. And Daryl was seen to have an injury, a scrape around the backside of his ear on the left side, I believe. So the defendant in front of you admitted that he assaulted his father, that he was upset and confronted him about the way he treated the dog, but wouldn't be forthcoming when asked about whether or not he was the one who made contact with his father first. And police determined that that was the case, that he'd come upstairs with the dogs in an aggressive manner, that his dad tried to protect himself from his son and the dogs, and that's when his son assaulted him, and that's why he was arrested. I would say, Your Honor, that the state is concerned about the actions of a dog owner who feels like when they have injured a dog, that dog now needs to be disciplined because they respond the only way that a dog can. And so that, I believe, is some mitigating information here. I would note that the defendant is an adult, and perhaps no contact is what's appropriate in a case like this. If the defendant and his son are unable, or if the defendant and his father are unable to live in a peaceful way, then they should probably not be in the same household. We'd ask for $1,000 SOB through pretrial based on the fact that this is first arrest, no contact, and to stay away from the location. We'd ask that Mr. Robinson Yamani, the defendant, have a one-time escort to retrieve his belongings. We did speak to Daryl Robinson today. He reported that they lived together and confirmed the events, but said that this was a minor incident and that nothing had ever happened before like this. Thank you.
If Mr. Daryl Robinson is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Is this your case, Mr. McLean?
It is, Your Honor. We agree with the state about the signature bond. We're going to leave it at the discretion of the court. Perhaps the court may wish to ask further questions, but we would leave it at the discretion of the court about the conditions. I did counsel with my client about, it looks like y'all need to live apart, whether it's very, very short time, no further violent contact would be convenient for my client in terms of getting his stuff out and finding a new place. Then in the medium term, there ought to be no contact. And then later on, when they get some counseling, we could go back to having contact again. So I'm looking in 3 phases of time, but that's probably pretty complicated. I'm going to leave it up to your honor on what to do about right now.
Can I get a permission to speak? I'm his mother.
Your
Okay,
Honor, it appears that the defendant's mother is on the line. I'm not sure that she's a witness to this case, but she may have some insight. She might need to speak to Mr. McLean. The defendant is 25 years old, Your Honor. I just redid the math.
okay, so I'm not sure what, yes.
Eleni Berhe is my name.
Oh, yes, yes. Pronounce your last name for me, ma'am.
Berhe,
Yes, ma'am. And do you live at the Sunflower Way address?
I do not.
Do you
I'm
know
divorced. I'm divorced
Okay.
from his father 10 years ago
Do you
for
know anything?
mainly
Do you know anything about this incident?
this particular incident, no, but the father is known to be very violent and he has actually choked him to the point to die. Somebody has
Your
to
Honor, I'm
jump
going to
in.
object at this point.
So they shouldn't,
Inappropriate in the context.
And then also violent
Hold
against
on, Miss,
animals.
hold on, Miss Mann. I'm just trying to figure out where your son should go at the present time. Can he, are you, somewhere that he can live? Well, he's
Yes.
25, so he can figure out where he needs to go on
Yeah,
his own.
he can come to me, but I just want to make sure that he's a very peaceful person. He does not hurt anybody. He loves animals. On the other hand, the animals were neglected. They do not need to be living there. He just was being protective of the animals. At the same time, a very good person who has graduated from college, working, gifted student, amazing human being. And if there was one person who should be in prison, in jail,
Okay,
should have
thank
been
you.
the
Thank you,
father, not
ma'am.
him.
That's an objection again, Your Honor. Thank you.
I
Mr.
kind of objection, really. Yes.
Okay, so.
Judge, Mr. Robinson is on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No,
I
you're
just
fine.
let him in.
Okay, thank you for being here, ma'am. I sounded for Mr. Robinson. I'm not sure if he, I asked him if he wanted to speak. If he was on at the time, I don't believe that he.
He
did.
wasn't, Judge. I just let him in when the mother was speaking.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, Mr. Daryl Robinson, if you are on the line and wish to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. You'll have to activate your camera and unmute yourself for me. Do we know what name he was under, Miss Strong?
Yes, sir. It says Daryl Robinson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I apologize. I was
Oh,
the one on under Bite My Apple, and I was removed, so I had
Okay,
to log back in on another device.
okay, Mr. Robinson, if you would like to address the court, I'll need for you to raise your right hand.
Yes,
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Yes.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
I just wanted to say I gave my recommendation to the solicitor earlier for an unsecured release, if possible. He's a good kid, and he should come home.
Okay, well, given the circumstances, I'm not so comfortable with him being at the Sunflower Way address at the present time. So anything further, Mr. Robinson?
I would just an unsecured release, and he can figure out where he can go. He's 25.
Okay, very good. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. Anything further, Mr. McLean?
Nothing further. Thank you.
All right, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact at this point in time with Daryl Robinson. Stay away from the Sunflower Way address. He can return to that address on one occasion to retrieve any belongings, which include any pets, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Robinson.
Next, Your Honor, can we go to the add-on calendar, position number 1 on the add-on?
Okay.
Mr. Roberts.
Good afternoon, Mr. Roberts. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007317E with simple battery family violence. Is there a history?
The last arrest for this defendant was May 16th, 2024, out of Marietta for battery. They have 2 arrest cycles in Georgia. Nothing further to report.
Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from October the 27th. At about 8 p.m., police were called to 2750 7th Street, which is a rooming house or where multiple people are living as roommates. They spoke with the victim in this case, Tasheen Madry, Madrey is how that last name is spelled. He reported that the defendant came home and saw that Mr. Madry had a bottle of what I'm going to assume is alcohol that belonged to him. So the defendant came home, saw the victim had a bottle of alcohol, told the victim he needed to replace that bottle. The victim said, not a problem. The defendant wasn't satisfied with that, followed the victim to where he was doing laundry, again, asked about replacing the bottle. The victim said, I'm just going to finish my laundry and then I'll be with you shortly. The defendant, again, was not satisfied with that. And so he proceeded to gather all the clothing of the victim and put it in a bag and basically threatened the victim, I'm not going to give you your items back until you replace the bottle of alcohol that you took of mine. The defendant also called the landlord at that point. And I believe there are witnesses on scene who corroborated that this was an argument that got out of hand. I would note, again, like pretrial stated, the defendant is out on bond out of Marietta for a battery from May. His other arrest is from March of this year, which is a battery, false imprisonment, and terroristic threats, as well as manufacturing a fake ID. We haven't been in touch with the victim. I'm sorry, Your Honor. We tried to reach out to Mr. Madry today, but haven't been successful at this point. So if you'd sound for him in case he's logged on. But at this point, the state's requesting a $2,000 surety because arguably this defendant is now in violation of two different bonds that would probably require him not to violate the law or have violent actions with people. Stay away from the location there at 2750 7th Street. No contact with the victim and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
Mr. Madry is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client and I counseled, we talked about the concept of self-help and how it can go too far in terms of really early and really quickly that one shouldn't even try to do that. So I think he basically understands the point, and I think only a signature bond would be necessary. I do understand the state's point about the other things being likely to have a restriction in their bond orders, but failing having more specifics today, I would argue for a signature bond. My client is 31 years old. He is working, and like I said, no failure to appear, and that's basically everything, Your Honor.
Your client has his hand up. Would you like to address him before I pronounce the bond?
I would say, is your question procedural, sir?
It's about the going back to the house.
Right. The court will decide. It's a rooming house, Your Honor. So
yeah,
it's not like any one person really has claim to the place. We're pretty open-minded about the going back. We did discuss that.
The other guy is under eviction, so I don't know the process of me going to get
Right. Hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
But you have right.
All right. So if nothing further, it's going to be $1,000 good bond. No further contact with Mr. Madry. Stay away from the 7th Street address. You can go back to that address on one occasion. With law enforcement, if Mr. Madry no longer resides there, you can stay there. If Mr. Madry is still there, then you're going to have to get your belongings and find someplace else to live. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, Your Honor, we're gonna go to position number 23. That's Mr. Smithburg, Joseph Dale Smithburg.
Good afternoon, Mr. Smithburg. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007313B with theft by taking and willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Is there a history?
The last arrest for this defendant was January 27th, 2021, out of Fulton County for possession of methamphetamine, obstruction and possession of drug-related objects. That case was DWOPed. They have a total of 12 arrest cycles in Georgia, misdemeanor conviction in 2010 for battery, family violence. Also in 2010, marijuana less than an ounce. Nothing further to report.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident, theft from October the 14th and a subsequent arrest from October the 19th. This is a Georgia Tech case. So at 5:30 p.m. at 960 Fowler Street, that is the Ken Byers tennis complex. The defendant is alleged to have taken the e-scooter that belongs to victim Rajas, R-A-J-A-S, last name Sharma, S-H-A-R-M-A. A bolo was put out and the description of the defendant was sent out to other Georgia Tech police. He was then observed nearby, identified, and taken into custody on the 19th of October. At that point, detective or investigator Glover with Georgia Tech police put the defendant in handcuffs, and he tried to flee while wearing those handcuffs ignoring verbal commands, and that's the basis for the obstruction. We'd asked for a $2,000 surety, Your Honor. He's got failure to appears and probation violations, as well as the battery convictions that you heard about in the past. No contact with the victim, that's Rajas Sharma. Stay away from the Ken Byers tennis complex and all of Georgia Tech, please. And no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
Mr. Sharma is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client is 34. He graduated high school in Collins Hill in Gwinnett County. His family is in Iowa, but he grew up here. The thing on the 3 card about being born in Huntsville, he's been in Georgia all his life, ever since he was 1 year old. Your Honor, under these circumstances with these facts, let me point out too, he's been unemployed for the last year or so, but before that, for a couple of years, he worked at Crystal and Zaxby's. So he's trying to get another job now. He has friends he can stay at their place. He does have, he's residentially challenged right now, but he can stay at other people's places and be stable. He'd like to ask the court to consider a signature bond for those reasons.
Okay, for the theft, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. The obstruction, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. Makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. No further contact with Mr. Sharma. Stay away from Georgia Tech, specifically 960 Fowler Street. I would like him to have a social worker visit to assist with any housing issues. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Smithburg.
Next, we have Your Honor's position number 8, Ms. Gresham.
Good afternoon, Ms. Gresham. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007304C with theft by shoplifting and criminal trespass. Is there a history?
No history to report at this time.
Desiano?
Your Honor, this incident took place at the Walmart at 844 Cleveland Avenue. This happened on the 25th. Loss prevention observed the defendant attempting to walk out of the store with approximately $137 worth of merchandise. The defendant was also caught shoplifting out of Walmart about 3 years ago, although it doesn't appear she was arrested for that incident. However, after that incident 3 years ago, she was issued a 5-year Walmart ban from Walmart and was not allowed to be in any Walmart during this 5-year period. That's the basis for the criminal trespass. We're requesting an SOB, Your Honor, stay away from all Walmarts in accordance with her 5-year ban, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. Thank you.
Any objection to any of that, Mr. McLean?
I'm sorry, which client was it, Your Honor?
Gresham.
Oh, I don't have that one.
Okay, well, is this Mr. Cook's case?
Gotta be.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Yes.
There we go. There we go.
Well, okay, have you been with us, Mr. Cook?
I have, Your Honor. No objection to the recommendation of the state.
Okay. For each charge, it's going to be $1,000 signature bond through the jail, makes for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from all Walmarts. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. If you go back to a Walmart, Miss Gresham, they're gonna arrest you and you'll be right back here. So stay away from those Walmarts, okay? All right, good luck to you, ma'am. Who do we have next?
Gonna be position number 20, Mr. Kevin Robertson.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Robertson. You've been charged in case 24 CR.
Y'all really could have let me speak to my mother. I was trying to tell her something, but you don't know where she's going.
Can we, I've asked them to change their name. They haven't done that. So can we remove them, please, until they do so? I'm sorry, Mr. Robinson, I apologize. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007312D with criminal trespass and false report of a crime. Is there a history, Ms. Harding?
No history to report at this time.
Okay, yes, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. One moment. So this is a East Point case. It occurred on the 25th of October at about 7 p.m. A 911 call came in from this defendant reporting that there was a burglary in process at 1323 Rosemary Lane. That's actually his residence. And there was no burglary happening. Police went to the location and met with the victim, Antoine Jackson, who is a resident at that location. He reported that the doors were locked. Police noted that the garage door and multiple other doors were locked to prevent him from gaining entry. The police documents also indicate that this was a domestic and that they had been to the location on multiple occasions, that this victim has had multiple instances and issues with being denied access to the residence. Let's see, the defendant on scene was argumentative, telling police that the victim could no longer be there and wasn't contributing to bills and household expenses. Another resident actually arrived and assisted the victim gaining entry to the place where he rightfully has the right to be. And the defendant admitted that he locked this young man out of the residence. So he is charged with the false report of a crime and interfering with the possession of the location. He was also instructed explicitly by East Point police that he has to evict people in the proper way by filing an eviction notice and process. You cannot just call the police and claim there's a burglary going on and lock all the doors to prevent people from coming back into a home where they rightfully live. Based on the fact that he's got no criminal history, we'd ask for an SOB through pretrial, no interference with the possession and use of that property. He needs to file for a dispossessory, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, no contact with the victim, in this case, Mr. Jackson. We did try to reach out to Mr. Jackson and left a message, and I did verify, Your Honor, on the Fulton County property records and real estate records that this residence is the residence of the defendant in front of you. He just needs to follow the law. Thank you.
Okay.
Your Honor, we agree.
Okay, so if there's a no further contact and Mr. Jackson staying there, what's the recommendation as far as going back to Rosemary Lane?
He can go back when he assures that the victim is not there, and he should probably file an eviction process and have some help through an intermediary. There are clearly other people living there that are renting out of that space. We would argue that maybe no violent contact if that's what seems more appropriate. This doesn't involve violence. It's just involving interference with possession. So that would be fine with the state.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
No, I
So,
appreciate it. Thank you.
okay.
That makes,
Mr. McLean?
that does make sense, Your Honor. I agree.
All right, so Mr. Robertson, you've got to make sure that if you want somebody out of your home, that you have to, and they've been living there, you have to follow the proper procedure. All right, so I'm going to let you go back to your home, but Mr. Jackson's still going to be there. You can have no further violent contact with him or no violent contact with him.
Any violence.
Okay, so but if you want him out of that Rosemary Lane address, you're going to have to properly evict him. So it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 on each count, makes for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. No further violent contact with Mr. Jackson and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Robertson.
Your
Position.
Honor, I apologize. I didn't get that bond amount.
Oh, you're fine. It's a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, 1,000 for each charge.
Thank you.
Okay.
Position 18, Ms. Murphy.
Good afternoon, Ms. Murphy. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007296E with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest was September 5th, 2024 out of Fulton County for battery. That case is open and being supervised under pretrial. Will be surrendering the bond. The number is 24 CR 006305E. They have a total of 2 arrest cycles. Nothing further to report.
Alan?
Thank you, Your Honor. The defendant in front of you, Mrs. Murphy, was in front of the court in September on a battery charge. That's a dual arrest case. She was alleged and is alleged to have assaulted a neighbor at a location 1003 Fair Street. She doesn't live there. Her boyfriend lives there. Ms. Murphy's boyfriend lives there, and he had a dispute with a neighbor. During that verbal dispute, Mrs. Murphy assaulted the neighbor. Her name is Shiree Staton. She also is a defendant. They have charges for assaulting each other. During her first appearance in September on the 6th, she testified to Judge Law and assured the court that she would not be returning to the location. She did not live there, and she had no reason to return to that location, 1003 Fair Street. And for based on that recitation to the court, she was given her $4,000 pretrial level 1 bond in order to have no contact with the victim or co-defendant, I guess I should say in this case, and to not return. She has returned multiple times to the location. On October the 27th, she's in front of you now because of that incident. At 10 a.m., police were called based on the violation of the bond order. On scene, Mrs. Staton met with police and reported that there were ongoing issues, that there was this bond order in place, and that the defendant had returned to the location on numerous occasions throughout September after her bond was issued. The defendant was seen at the location there. When she was arrested and taken into custody, she complained of chest pains, but was eventually transported back to the jail. Her address is on Auburn Point Drive. And so her behavior is clearly in violation of the bond. I'm not going to file an accusation based on violation of a temporary protective order, even though arguably a bond would fall under that. This is not a family violence case. This is criminal trespass, Your Honor. She has been told not to return to the location, and she's doing so. So both individuals involved in the case with an order to have no contact were charged for violence against each other. But Ms. Murphy, I just want to be clear, doesn't live at the location and testified to the court when she was in front of the court on September the 6th that she had no reason to return there. And so we'd be asking for a $2,000 cash bond, Your Honor, to stay away from the location like she said she would last time, and like the court has already ordered her to have no contact with Mrs. Shiree Staton. I believe she is on the Zoom, but again, just for clarification, she is a defendant and is a dual charged individual in this case. and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. I specifically remember this case because both women were present on Zoom for the SEA September the 6th. Both of them testified. Mrs. Staton had to be had to have her rights explained to her, and she still chose to make a statement. And so it was a lengthy hearing in front of Judge Law, where the young woman in front of you was very clear. She had no reason to return back to the location. She talked about her good job and how this is all a big misunderstanding. And so the state had some concerns that she explicitly misled the court and has returned back to that location on multiple occasions. In a case where people are engaged in fighting and both of them are arrested, there's usually a credibility issue for a jury to decide. And returning to a location after you have assured the court you have no reason to return back there is certainly a credibility issue. And so the state's concerned about safety and the risk to reoffend, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, before I sound for Ms. Staton, I want to make sure who's representing Ms. Murphy.
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that we had everybody on. If Ms. Staton is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Okay, Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, all I can do is today point out again that she does have that good job. She works at the Chattahoochee Early Learning Academy. She's worked as a teacher of small children, pre-K, I think, for 4 years. It's a stable job. She's she thought I hate to lock people into whatever defenses they may present in their trial, Your Honor. So I'll just leave it at that. I think I heard about a misunderstanding, but I understand that she did tell Judge Law that she would stay away. So we're between a rock and a hard place on this one, Your Honor. I would ask the court to consider a signature bond, of course. So it'd be amiss if I didn't ask it. But instead of a cash bond, Your Honor, if Your Honor could give a $1,000 or $2,000 surety bond, it would be much appreciated.
Okay. So, Ms. Murphy, so that you know, the last time you were given a signature bond, okay? I'm not going to give you another signature bond because you were already given a signature bond. Not only were you given a signature bond, but because you allegedly went back to that Fair Street address, they're going to surrender that signature bond, which means that you're going to have to come up with however much you need to come up with to satisfy a $4,000 good bond on your other case. That doesn't have anything to do with this case. That's because you're in violation of the terms that you said that you would not violate. As far as this case, since you already have a $4,000 good bond, well, it will be a $4,000 good bond when they surrender it. The bond for the criminal trespass is going to be a $2,000 good bond. Stay away from the Fair Street address. No further contact with the alleged victim. And can you give me that name again, Ms. Allen, please? Spell it for Ms. Bridgewater.
Yes, Your Honor. The first name is Shyre. Last name is Staton, Staten.
Okay, no further contact with Ms. Staton. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. If you go back to that Fair Street address, Ms. Murphy, presumably you'll be arrested again and you'll be right back where you are. Mr. McLean, your client has her hand up. Ms. Murphy, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. I have already pronounced my bond on the matter, but if you need to speak with Mr. McLean, Mr. McLean, what would you like to do?
Your Honor, she's at ACDC, I believe.
That's correct.
So I can just mute myself on the court thing and take her phone call on my desk phone, and the deputy can help with that.
Okay, well, if she needs to contact you, but I've already made the bond amount, so.
Right.
All right.
Exactly.
Good luck to you, Ms. Murphy. Who do we have next?
Next is going to be position number 19, Mr. Terrence Reese.
Good afternoon, Mr. Reese. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007310J with criminal trespass and theft by shoplifting. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest was May the 22nd, 2024 out of Fulton County for theft by shoplifting. They have a total of 34 arrest cycles in Georgia.
felony conviction in 2017 for possession of marijuana with intent and possession of cocaine with intent. 2008, theft by deception. There's an open case for criminal trespass, and that case number is 23 CR 005269. Nothing further to report.
Oh, yeah, we working the sun up to sundown.
Ms. Thornton, you're gonna need to mute yourself. Okay, thank you. And, okay, yes, Ms. Allen.
Your Honor, the defendant has an open criminal trespass case. He has a $2,000 SOB through the jail and was ordered a social worker visit. That was your order in 24 CR 000628J. And that's from February of this year. I would note his GCIC indicates that he's had 2 subsequent arrests since then, not including the one that we're talking about now. In front of you today is Mr. Reese. This is an incident from the 27th of October. At about 1:35 a.m., police were called to 180 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard. That's a BP gas station. The clerk, Mr. Kidam, Kidam, reported that the defendant, who had been criminally trespassed the day before on 10/26, had come into the store when a crowd of people had come in. He kind of snuck in, but he was observed by the staff. He took a six-pack cans of beer, put a dollar bill down on the counter, and then left the location. He was identified there on scene by the clerk and arrested. So he's charged with 1 count of shoplifting for the 6-pack and criminal trespass for blatantly coming in and stealing where he'd been criminally trespassed the day before. We would ask for a $2,000 surety, stay away from that location. No drugs, alcohol, and weapons. Actually, we're asking for a cash bond because of his open case, and we'd ask for an MHET, Your Honor. Again, the location is 180 Ralph David Abernathy, and that's the BP gas station.
Thank you. Mr. McLean?
Yeah, we would point out that he is 39 years old. I understand he does have a number of prior arrests on the matter. Similar things. He does work, Your Honor. He is industrious, and he works at landscaping and moving furniture. People know him by reputation. He doesn't have company names, but he's self-employed in both of those endeavors. So I'd like to recognize that. We would ask the court to consider as low a signature bond or as low a surety bond as possible rather than a cash.
Okay, did you find out anything about whether or not he needs assistance with housing?
Your Honor, I have an address where his mom lives and he gets good mail there. Whether he actually resides there, I'm not sure. We could certainly do the social worker visit again for the housing advice.
Okay, well, back in February, if I thought that he needed a social worker visit, it was probably for that reason. I just wanted to make sure that he received that.
Probably so.
All right, so it's going to be a $500 good bond per charge, makes for a total of $1,000 good bond. Stay away from the BP on Ralph David Abernathy. A social worker visit for a BHET, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. If he is not released by November 12th, I'd like for the social worker to report at the SAP calendar, please. Good luck to you, Mr. Reese.
Next, Your Honor, we have Ms. Williams, and she's position 46. Tara Williams, 46. Oh, no, my bad. I'm not sure what her position is.
I'm missing a lot of pages if we go up to 46.
She's add-on number 2, Your Honor.
Okay,
Thank you.
We're gonna have a long afternoon if that's 46.
Good afternoon, Ms. Williams. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007318C with transmitting a false report of fire. Is there a history?
The last arrest was December 27th, 2022, out of Montgomery, Alabama, for a family offense. They have a total of 4 arrest cycles, arrests out of Georgia and Alabama. Nothing further to report.
Alan?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred in August, on the 25th of August, 2024, at 2915 Webb Road in Alpharetta. That's the Extra Space storage location. Police responded to a fire alarm there at the location and met with the manager, Mrs. Pruitt. She reported that a fire alarm had been pulled in the area of a back stairwell. She showed police video of this defendant in front of you with her co-defendant. His name is Bernard Hall, inside a storage unit where they'd been staying. They had been staying in the storage unit there and accessing the building after hours by using an exterior stairway. On video surveillance, the defendant is seen exiting that exterior stairway and pulling the firearm that's located on the wall next to it. She fled the scene. When police arrived to respond to that fire alarm, they met with her co-defendant, Mr. Bernard Hall, who reported that he and this young woman, Miss Williams, had a disagreement, and as a result, she pulled the fire alarm and left. It's noted in the police documents on the same evening, the two same people were seen on video surveillance damaging the door to a restroom at a local pool community center area. Police attempted to make contact with Mrs. Williams after this incident in August. She answered the phone and said she'd call police back. She wasn't really available. Eventually, they just went and obtained warrants based on the documentation from video. She was arrested in Paulding County, Your Honor, and transferred here. We'd asked for a $2,000 surety. Her prior arrests out of Georgia include multiple failure to appears and battery, as well as theft by taking. $2,000 surety, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Stay away from the location. That's the Extra Space storage at 2915 Webb Road in Alpharetta. No contact with her co-defendant, Bernard Hall, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
Mr. McClain?
Your Honor, my client is 29 years old. She has a job for the last 2 weeks at Campaign Industries. She worked at Amazon for a year. She did remote tech support before that. She would like to turn back to the employment side of things, and she would like to ask the court to consider a signature bond, and if not, a $1,000 surety bond.
Does she need assistance with housing, Mr. McClain?
Apparently so, Your Honor, because this is people living in a storage unit.
Right. And where are you telling me that she works?
She works at Campaign Industries, I think, because many campaigns are going on right now. That's probably a temporary job, but one that is paying her right now, and she desperately needs it.
Okay, I understand. Your client has her hand up. Does she?
I think it's a procedural question. She made sure that I understood that she needs this job, and
Okay. I don't know if Officer Milton's there.
I unmute you, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. You have a question, ma'am?
I wanted to add that I have an appointment with Global Industry because I got approved for an apartment like 2 days ago for Sync at Perimeter in Sandy Springs. The global organization, I'm supposed to be talking to them Wednesday. I don't have anyone to bond me out, so that's the reason why I was asking.
All right, so I don't want you to lose your job or your opportunity to have housing, Ms. Williams. So it's going to be a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Stay away from that Extra Space storage on Webb Road. Do you still have some belongings at that space that you need to get, Ms. Williams?
Not really. I got everything that I needed out, and I've been staying.
Okay. Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure that you don't need to go back there is what you're telling me. So So stay away from that, that extra storage on Web Street. Since you told me that you've got some assistance with housing, I'm not going to order a social worker visit. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. So I'm going to let you sign yourself out because I want you to have an opportunity for that housing, and I want you to have an opportunity to continue your job. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Good luck to you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
Next, Your Honor, this is going to be position number 17. Mr. Montalera Guzman Andres Gabriel.
Mr. Guzman, good afternoon. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007293G with driving under the influence of alcohol less safe, improper erratic lane change, reckless driving, disorderly conduct, simple battery against a police officer, and 2 counts of willful obstruction of police officers. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest was June the 18th, 2021, out of Alpharetta for a DUI. And that's their only arrest cycle, nothing further.
Any, is that an open case or?
It doesn't show any disposition.
The defendant pled to reckless in that case,
Okay.
Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Yes.
You can proceed.
This is an incident that occurred on the 25th of October. Police were actually in the downtown area and witnessed the defendant driving a Chevy Equinox go through the intersection at Ted Turner and Carnegie. While doing so, he left his lane of travel and went up onto the streetcar ramp that is part of MARTA on the passenger side, causing his car to go airborne and then slam down on the ground and become disabled because the tire was damaged. Police then, this was about 8:45 p.m. on Friday. Police then went over to the defendant in his vehicle. He had a woman with him in the passenger seat. They noticed immediately a strong odor of alcohol from the defendant's breath. When asked what happened, he said the vehicle just stopped. He was noted to have bloodshot eyes, and initially he denied drinking, but his passenger told police that she and he had just gotten married and that he'd had 2 beers. The defendant got out of the vehicle, stumbled as he walked, swayed, was unresponsive to questions, became belligerent after he failed some FSTs, and started making racist comments to the police, calling them monkeys, banging his head on the patrol vehicle. This behavior continued when he was taken to city jail. He chest bumped the officer, Alan Augustin, who he had just called a monkey, and continued to yell at him as well as medical staff there at the jail. He said he was going to assault the officer once he got his cuffs off, refused to answer questions during intake, and then tried to flee on foot during check-in there. He fell on his face and then tried to kick police while he was down. He had to be restrained at that point. Based on the behavior, Your Honor, the fact that this was at 8:45 p.m. on a Friday night in the middle of downtown and resulted in violent behavior towards medical staff and police officers, we'd ask for a $4,000 surety, absolutely no driving, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, I realize that this young defendant, my client, needs to seriously address the alcohol problem if there is one with an ADET. I would suggest as part of I would ask the court to consider a signature bond, but I think an ADET would be in order here. The behavior described in the face planting that he did for himself indicates that alcohol counseling and any kind of medication to make one nauseous when taking alcohol might be in order. It's a heck of a way to celebrate the wedding day, of course. So we'd ask the court to consider a signature bond. If not, I would also point out that at least the DUI from before was from 2021. It's got a little bit of age on it, thank goodness. But we would ask the court to go that direction, a signature bond or $1,000 surety bond.
Okay, these are all going to be good bonds. For the DUIs, $1,000 good bond. For the improper erratic lane change, a $250 good bond. reckless driving, $1,000 good bond, disorderly conduct, $250 good bond, simple battery against a police officer, $500 good bond, obstruction, $250 good bond, second obstruction, a $250 good bond, makes for a total of a $3,500 good bond, an ADET, drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Guzman.
Next is position number 3.
1 second, Milton. Quick question. He has 2 disorderly conducts on his booking sheet and a failure to report striking fixed object. Were those NOD?
I submitted an NOD for the failure to report a fixed object. One of the disorderlies was changed to simple battery on a police officer.
Thank you.
Yes.
Position number 3, Ms. Crenshaw.
Good afternoon, Ms. Crenshaw. You have been charged in case 24 CR 007298B with battery. It's my understanding that this was a dual arrest with position 22. Ms. Smith, who we've already heard. Does Ms. Crenshaw have a history?
No, Your Honor, no history to report at this time.
Okay, Ms. Desiano, any additions to the facts?
No, Your Honor, we're asking for, as it relates to Ms. Crenshaw, for an SOB. It's her first arrest, and Your Honor ordered her cross-defendant to have no contact and would just ask for something consistent, not a stay away, of course, but a no contact.
Ms. McLeod, did you have an opportunity to speak with Ms. Crenshaw?
Did, Your Honor.
Any
And
objection?
no objection to the signature bond, Your Honor. And I just wanted to say on the record that this is my client's home, and she allowed this person to stay there because the person had nowhere else to stay. And this woman attacked her in her own home and actually caused her some significant injuries.
Okay. So Ms. Smith has been ordered to stay away from that Summit Crest address, and she has also been ordered to have no further contact with Ms. Crenshaw. For Ms. Crenshaw to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1, no further contact with Tierra Smith, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Crenshaw.
Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Next, Your Honor, is going to be position number 10, Mr. Michael Hines.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hines. You've been charged in case. Good afternoon, sir. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007306J with simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest was April 26, 2016, out of Lilburn for driving while license suspended or revoked. They have a total of 9 arrest cycles, misdemeanor conviction in 2016 for a DUI, nothing further.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, this incident took place back in January on the 17th. Incident location is a restaurant, Jamaican Bar and Grill, 4847 Old National Highway. The manager at the location called to report an incident between one of her employees and her child's father. The defendant and the victim have a child together. The victim is Brandy Hutchinson. She stated she was at work in the back of the kitchen at her station. A coworker came to let her know that there was someone outside trying to serve her paperwork. She was at work. She continued working. She said about 30 minutes later, her child's father came up through the rear of the kitchen area, started arguing with her about getting the court paperwork served. He started calling her cuss words, B words, started pushing things on top of her, physically pushed her and also elbowed her. The victim did not react at this point because she was concerned she was going to lose her job. She did not engage with the defendant. She ran behind the kitchen sink. The defendant followed her, and the person that was there to serve her papers approached her and served papers. The victim told police that she was very concerned for her safety after this point because the defendant has threatened to harm her in the past, and she was very concerned that he was going to come back to the location and hurt her. We've been in touch with her today. She states that She and the defendant are no longer in a relationship. They don't live together. They do have a child together. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She stated that the defendant has been violent with her for the last 2 years. This is the first time that he's ever been arrested for violence against her. She's filed for 3 TPOs against him in Clayton County. However, he's evading service, and so they keep getting dismissed. They do currently have a court action for legitimation, which we believe is what papers were being served on her on this incident. She's in fear. She wants no contact. She wants no contact from her job, which is the incident location where this happened. And she would also request no contact from her residence, which is 2347 Garnet Avenue in Riverdale. Your Honor, the state's requesting an SOB, no contact, stay away from the incident location and the victim's residence, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol, and anger awareness.
If this is Brandy Hutcherson that's on the line under Brandy and you wish to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Good afternoon, Ms. Hutcherson. If you can raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give before this court would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. You can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
So from this incident, I lost income because they took me off the schedule. They're saying that to have me on a fixed schedule that Mr. Hines know is harm. It's harm of dangerous for their staff that work there because of his last appearance and how he approached me and fight me in front of my manager and coworkers. So they're scared. And that's a loss of income for me. I am undocumented. I am not able to just go out there and find a job. And this is messing with my living condition that I can't pay my rent on time. I have to do anything that I have to do because I don't have a fixed income like before. Also, I'm very scared for my life because Mr. Hine had injured me in the past where I was diagnosed at grade E for head injury trauma, where he beat me in my head and lied to the police. And also, I've been just running from this man for the past 2 years. I have a restraining order in Jersey. I do 2 in Georgia. It just keep going. And I'm having a mental breakdown because regardless of what's going on, I still had to take care of my 2-year-old financially. And I have other kids are affected by this because of my income. And Mr. Hine is very violent and he knows the system. He has a sister, is a notary that string him along, tell him what to do with the law. It is too much. I'm heartbroken and I'm fearful for my life. I just want peace to take care of my daughter. And I had to set up boundaries. I do everything possible to help me to prevent myself from this guy. And it's just not working. It's too much. And I'm having a mental breakdown because of this. I can't do it anymore.
Okay. Thank you for being here this afternoon, Ms. Hutcherson. Anything further?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Cook?
Your Honor, we have no objection to the state's recommendation. We would, just as a caveat, note that there seems to be an ongoing legitimation process. So they may have to have contact or at least be within a few feet of each other in a courtroom for the purpose of this legal process.
Okay, so unless it's a courtroom, there's going to be no contact. And no contact means absolutely no contact, Mr. Hines. No contact, obviously no contact personally. No contact by phone, no contact by email, no contact by any type of social media, no contact whatsoever. If I find out that there's been any contact with Ms. Hutcherson, then I'm going to revoke the bond that I'm about to give you. It's going to be a $10,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. 1 day anger awareness, no further contact with Brandy Hutcherson, stay away from the Jamaican Bar and Grill, stay away from her residence at Garnet Avenue, abide by any pre-existing custody arrangements. If there are no custody arrangements that are presently in place, they're going to have to be in place before there can be any visitation. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Did you want to say something more, Ms. Hutcherson?
Yes, sir. So regarding to custody and visitation, when we went to court last Thursday, the judge told him that they grant legitimization, but no custody and no visitation until the guardian ad litem thoroughly through their investigation because of drugs was mentioned. He used meth, he drinks a lot.
Okay,
So they have to
hold on,
investigate
Ms.
the case.
Hutchinson. So what I've said is that he's to abide by any pre-existing custody arrangements. So if there are custody
Right.
arrangements that are put in place, he has to abide by them. Until there are arrangements that are put in place, then there's no visitation. He's gonna have to put those in place before there's visitation, okay?
Right.
All right, very good. Thank you, ma'am. Good luck to you, Mr. Hines. Your client has his hand up, Mr. Cook.
Mr. Hines, you've been given a signature bond. The court has stated that, you'd have to abide by any of the court orders regarding the kids, so when one is in place. Unless you have some question about the process, we're not going to discuss the case. That can be dealt with later.
I don't disagree with anything, sir. I was just asking that Ms. Hutchinson be restricted from contacting my family as well. She's been threatening them with sexual acts, instructing them to lick her vagina while she.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to this.
Okay, so, sir.
I do have documents
Let
of that.
me just say this. So listen to me, sir. I don't have any jurisdiction over Miss Brandy there. If those types of things are going on, they need to call the police and report them, okay? So that would be the advice that I would give to anybody who's been harassed by someone else. So let the police deal with it. Okay? All right, good luck to you, sir.
Next, we have position 26.
Is it Warnke?
Warnke.
Say it again for me, ma'am.
Warnke.
Warnke, good afternoon, ma'am. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007315G with battery, family violence, and cruelty to children in the 3rd degree. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
No, Your Honor, no history to report at this time.
Okay.
Your Honor, who is this?
This is position number 26. That's my case, Your Honor.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, this is an incident that happened on October the 26th at about 4 a.m. Police were called to 172 Autumn Ridge Trail in Roswell. There, they made contact with the victim, Tess, same last name, Warnke. She is the mother of this defendant, as well as a juvenile with the initials LW. The mother of this defendant was observed to have scratches and bruising on her forearm and wrist as a result of her daughter grabbing her. The documents indicate that when police arrived to the location, they could hear a loud verbal altercation from inside the house. There was also another adult present, last name Arnett, who reported that the defendant came home from a Halloween party, obviously intoxicated. She had sat down to maybe have some more drinks. This upset her mother, and the defendant became angry, came into the living room. There was a physical altercation, and the defendant lunged at her mother, Tess. Police spoke to Mr. Arnett, who was a witness. He said that he heard the altercation from another room, exited the room he was in, and observed the altercation between the two women. He tried to break it up, but the defendant, the young woman in front of you, would not stop trying to get at her mother. The juvenile witness reported that she was in her bedroom when the altercation began. She came out and she saw the defendant in front of you on the ground with mom standing nearby, and she watched the defendant lunge at their mom and try to assault their mom again. She reported that the defendant often comes home intoxicated and starts arguments, and it appears that this is what occurred on this date. The victim in this case, Tess, mother of the defendant, said that defendant came home intoxicated and started a physical altercation. Mom said she went outside to get away, but the defendant followed her and then lunged at her in the doorway. She said she restrained her daughter and put her to the ground, and called police, but the defendant continued to try to physically assault her. The defendant was seen to have some injuries as well. She had her earring pulled out. She was noted to have slurred speech, a strong odor of alcohol. She said she had a drink when she got home from a party and her mom was upset. She said her mom strangled her, but she had no injuries consistent with being strangled on the scene there. But her version of events corroborated the events and details given by the multiple people on scene, and she was arrested. We have spoken to mom, the victim, Tess. She says that they lived together and confirmed the information in the warrants. She denies being injured during this incident in contradiction to what's in the documents, and says her child does not have a drinking problem, although it would seem that this, based on the information in the police reports, coming home intoxicated and engaging in arguments is something that has happened in the past. We'd ask for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial, Your Honor, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond, and no violent contact, no unsupervised contact with minors, including in this case, LW, who is the basis of the cruelty in the third degree, juvenile in the home having to witness this altercation. Thank you. And if you would sound for mom, her name again is Tess Warnke, Warnke. Thank you.
Ms. Warnke, I understand that you want to address the court. You will have to activate your camera for me.
I'm trying, but it keeps saying that you have to do it.
Okay, so we'll get the host to
Okay, let's see. I think it's working now. Let's see. Can't see anything.
Okay, well, I can see something. You need to position
Can you
it
see
so
me?
that- I cannot see you, ma'am. You have to position the camera so that it's in front of your face.
It is in front of my face.
Okay, well, you'll have to maybe move it around a little bit because it's
Yeah.
oh, you've got it facing the wrong direction. You have to
Oh,
switch
do
it.
I?
Yeah, you have to
Okay.
switch it around.
I'm not great with Zoom. Sorry. Or how to switch it. Let's see. There we
Okay,
go.
there you go. All
You
right,
can hear.
so
You can hear me, okay?
I can hear and see you, ma'am. If you can raise your right hand for me.
Yes, sir.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
You can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court?
Oh, well, first of all, I would like to object to or just say that statement was not true, saying that she came home and sat down to have a drink and we got an altercation. I don't know where that came from. That's totally untrue. I did not call the police. And after the police arrived, I did express to them that I did not want to press charges, that we just need to get her to calm down. I did not receive any injuries whatsoever. We did have an altercation. It was nothing that was really beyond our control. My youngest daughter got concerned, and over abundance of caution, she called 911. I'm really concerned about the statements that we sat down, or she sat down to have a drink. Like these statements that are just unfounded completely. My daughter is Lauren Warnke. She is 22 years old. She'll be 23 years old tomorrow. She has not expressed any violence at all in her whole life. This was the one only time that it's happened, and I do believe it was because of alcohol. However, it was a high school graduate of Walton High School, received scholarships to Georgia State. She attended there a few years. She's on a brief hiatus because of financial statuses. I do want to express that I would like to request that there be a signature bond where we don't have to place any money, because that will put undue distress on our household. She does live with me. She lives here. We live together. I do want her to come home. I have no objection to that. I want her to come home. I think that's it. And I do want to state that she did come home. She was intoxicated. She did, however, have the wherewithal to Uber home. So she didn't drive, which I was happy to know. But she was intoxicated and she was hard to calm down at that point. But she did not harm me. There's nothing on my body. The police, I believe, took a picture of a little spot on my arm that I'd received earlier that day, a few hours when I was playing with the dog. He likes to chew and nibble, and that happens. But that is all. She did not harm me. I was never in fear for my life. My younger daughter was never in fear for her life. We are totally comfortable with her coming home. Hopefully this will be a lesson to her about the drinking. That's the only issue that stands right now, but I'm not in fear, never was in fear. So I just want to make that known. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, who all lives in your household?
So there's myself and my 14-year-old daughter, Lillian Warnke, Lauren, and my fiance, Jeff Arnett.
Okay, it was your 14-year-old that called the police?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so something was going on enough that a 14-year-old was,
Sure.
you might not have been in fear, but you know, you're responsible for that 14-year-old, and if that 14-year-old.
Absolutely. She was in fear for me and her sister. You know, she didn't know what was going on. And she did what she has been taught throughout her lifetime. If there's something you can't handle, you call the police.
Okay, all right. Well, I appreciate you being here this afternoon.
Thank you.
Any objection, Mr. McLean, to any of the state's requests?
None, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, with a battery, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the cruelty, it'll be a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. 1-day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Ms. Tess, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. I'm going to let you out, Lauren, but you can't have any alcohol as a condition of this bond. Okay, so until this is all resolved, you've got to stop drinking. You understand me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good luck.
Sir, excuse me. Can I ask a question? I'm not sure to ask you. How do I find out how to get her in that process?
You'll have to have to call the jail later. It might take them a bit of time to process her out. So call the jail before you go down there to pick her up. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor, for your time.
You have a good day.
You too as well.
Who do we have next?
Position number 5, Mr. Ricky Dunn.
Okay. Mr. Dunn, you've been charged in case 24 CR 0073008, simple battery family violence. Is there a history?
The last arrest for this defendant was December 31st, 2023, out of Atlanta for simple assault. That case is open. They're being supervised by pretrial, so we'll be surrendering their bond. The number is 24 CR 000018A. They have a total of 30 arrest cycles in Georgia. Misdemeanor conviction in 1998 for a CWAC charge, 2001 obstruction. Felony conviction in 2011 for financial transaction card theft and financial transaction card fraud. 2004 false imprisonment and robbery. 2000 obstruction. Nothing further to report.
Thank you, Ms. Daciano.
And Your Honor, the open case is the same victim. This incident took place August 17th. Victim Letitia Miller. She reported being assaulted by her husband at their home, 3490 Garfield Way. The victim stated she returned home. She was backing into the driveway when her husband ran out, opened her vehicle door, and grabbed her and tried to pull her from the vehicle. The victim's shirt was torn from the incident, but she had no visible injuries. When the defendant could not get her out of the vehicle, he fled the scene. This incident was also captured on the party's Ring camera. Your Honor, the open case is involving the same victim, and it was your bond, Your Honor. You issued him a $3,000 SOB through pretrial on January 2nd of this year. You ordered that he have no contact with Ms. Miller, and you also ordered that he stay away from the same incident location. We've been in touch with Ms. Miller today. She states that they are married. They don't live together anymore. They don't have children. She confirmed the events in the warrant. She's stated she does not know why the defendant did this. He gets very angry when he drinks. It's not the first time that he's been violent. Of course, they have that open case. She says that they've had no contact since this incident and there's been no physical violence. She would like to continue no contact and would like him to continue to stay away from the residence. Your Honor, this is a flagrant violation of his current bond. We're asking for a cash bond, $1,000, no contact, stay away. We're also asking for family violence intervention at this point, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if Your Honor can sound for Ms. Miller.
If Ms. Letitia Miller is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity. Mr. Cook.
Yeah, sure. My client is 46. She disputes the allegations as stated in the warrant. We have no objection to her stay away or no further contact. Beyond that, he is a person of some limited means at this point. So we would object to the violence intervention program, and we would be seeking a surety bond, not a cash bond, at a fairly modest level, given his limited financial resources.
Okay, well, given that, what was the date of that bond, Ms. Desiano, the previous one?
Your Honor, you issued the bond January 2nd, 2024. This incident took place August 17th, 2024.
Okay, so it's been this year. So the one thing that I won't abide is when I tell somebody to do something and I give them the opportunity to have a signature bond, and then they violate that by doing the exact thing that I told them not to do, then that lets me know that you don't care what I asked you to do. So I don't give you a second time to have grace. So I'm gonna accept it. Put your hand down, Mr. Dunn. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. I'm gonna take the state's recommendation. It'll be $1,000 cash bond. No further contact with Ms. Miller. Stay away from the Garfield Way address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. It's only gonna go up if you continue to be around Ms. Miller and get arrested again. Who do we have next?
Position number 12, Ms. Collins.
Good afternoon, Ms. Hollins. You've been charged in case 24 CR 007292J with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest was September 7th, 2024 at a College Park for simple battery and obstruction. They have a total of 33 arrest cycles in Georgia. Felony conviction in 2024, aggravated assault, terrorist or threats and acts, criminal damage to property, misdemeanor conviction for criminal trespass, in 2024, also in 2024, battery and obstruction, 2019 battery, 2014 violating family violence order. It appears that they're on probation for aggravated assault and terroristic threats and acts. That number is 23 SC 191021. Nothing further to report.
Cassiano?
Your Honor, you may remember Miss Hollins from last week. She pled on SAP last Tuesday. She's been, her last arrest was September 7th. She was released Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. And alas, she is back. This incident took place on the 26th at the BP at 464 Windsor Street Southwest. Officers responded to a trespass call. Upon arrival, they made contact with the security guard at the location who had the defendant in handcuffs. The officer asked that she be removed from the handcuffs until they could verify her identity, and they did. The defendant was previously trespassed from this location on September 7th, which was the day of her last arrest, Your Honor. However, the incident that she was arrested for did not take place at this BP. It took place down the road. But she did plead to that battery and simple assault and willful obstruction. And then she also had a bench warrant on another case for disorderly conduct and willful obstruction. So she's been on probation all of 5 days, Your Honor. We're asking for a $1,000 surety bond, stay away from the BP, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 33 years old. She reported not having.
Your Honor, sorry, this was Miss McLeod's case before. Is this still a conflict? in the previous cases from last week.
I don't know. I don't remember the SEA. I didn't see the conflict.
Ms. McLeod, are you still with us?
No, sir.
She's gone. I can see her here on the screen.
Oh, she sure is. I'll reach out, Judge. Give me a second.
Okay. I'm not sure why if she had another case with us or. Let's see if we can get her back on.
Yeah, she's very familiar with Miss Hollins, so I expect that she will represent her.
It probably knows more than I do, so.
All right. Anybody else that we can take in courtroom 2 while we're waiting?
Your Honor, I have my last one, position 15, Miss Langford. Switch seats. Come on, Miss Langford.
I'm done in courtroom 2.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Also, Norris, Dwight Beck.
He was transferred.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Langford. You have been charged in case 24 CR 0073009C with battery in a public transit vehicle or station and criminal trespass. Ms. Hardy, is there a history?
The last arrest was August the 3rd, 2024, out of Atlanta for theft by shoplifting. There's 36 arrest cycles in Georgia. A felony conviction in 2018 for unlawful to remove baggage, cargo from bus, rail, aircraft, or terminal. They received first offender on that, and it was sealed in 2023. There's a misdemeanor conviction in 2024 for theft by taking. 2022 disorderly conduct, theft by shoplifting. 2022 theft by shoplifting. 2021 theft by shoplifting and criminal trespass. There is an open theft by shoplifting case. That number is 19 SC 165899. Nothing further to report.
Okay, before I go into the facts of this, Ms. McLeod, thank you. We were just discussing a case. Give me that name again. I'm sorry, Ms. Desiano. Do you have that for me?
Quinetta Hollins.
Thank you. Position number 12, Ms. Hollins. You were representing her last week on the
Correct,
SAT.
Your Honor. She took a plea last week.
Right. She's back again with us today. I take it that she would still need your assistance. Can I get you to talk with her?
Your Honor.
For this matter. So if we could just get Ms. Hollins to a phone so that she can talk with Ms. McLeod. All right. Thank you, Ms. McLeod. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'm sorry, Ms. Langford. I just wanted to keep the court going, but thank you, ma'am. And you also, Ms. Desiano. I apologize. Go ahead.
No worries, Judge. So this incident took place on October 26th at the Garnett MARTA station. Address is 235 Peachtree Street. Officers responded regarding a disorderly person initially. The victim is an employee of MARTA. He's the field protective specialist. His name is Alan Lewis. He told police that he was patrolling the area. The defendant had come onto the premises before. He'd asked her to leave. She did. And she came back trying to use the customer service phone. Apparently that's another reason she was on at the location before. He told her she can't use the phone. Asked her to leave. She came back trying to use the phone again. At this point, the defendant approached the victim and started swinging and scratching him in the face when he was trying to escort her off the premises. The state's requesting a $2,500 surety bond, Your Honor, $2,000 on the battery, $500 on the criminal trespass. Stay away from the incident location. No contact with Mr. Lewis. No weapons, drugs, or alcohol. And if Your Honor can sound for Mr. Lewis.
If Mr. Lewis is on a Zoom call and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity. The theft by taking, is that open, Ms. Desiano? Is that with our court?
No, Your Honor, it's in felony and it is open.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Cook.
Okay. Your Honor, my client is about 38 years old. Lives at Old Hateville Road. has a good address, no reason to believe he would not appear. Is not working, as I understand it. Does have a sister in town. Obviously, I was not aware of the open felony. We would be seeking. We have no problem with the stairway, no further contact, any conditions of the bond. But given his modest financial situation, we would be seeking, if not a signature bond, a surety bond at the lowest possible level.
And Your Honor, the defendant also has an open battery and criminal trespass case in state court. It's got one of those COVID numbers, 20 COV 000432. Looks like there's an FTA on that from March 2nd, 2022.
Okay, thank you. All right, for each of the charges, it'll be a $250 good bond, makes for a total of a $500 good bond. I would like a social worker visit for a BHET. Stay away from the Garnett Street MARTA station, no further contact with Alan Lewis, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Langford.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Anyone else that we can take right now?
We're ready, but come on, Ms. Hollins, have a seat. Yes, sir. Have a seat, Ms. Hollins.
Okay, so Ms. McLeod, Ms. Desiana, would you mind going through this again for Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident took place on the 26th. Officers responded to the BP at 464 Windsor Street regarding a trespass. Upon arrival, the security guard had the defendant in handcuffs. They asked her to step outside so they could confirm her identity. She was previously trespassed from the same location on September 7th, and she had returned on the 26th. The 7th, Ms. McLeod, was the day she was arrested for the last case that she just pled out on last week. And of course, the state's frustration is that she was here last week and she's back. So we're asking for a $1,000 surety bond to stay away from the BP, no weapons, drugs, or alcohol.
Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is not in a position to pay bond. She was in jail for, I would say, maybe 40 something days. Recently, she just was released. It hasn't been a week since she was released. So she naturally has no money to pay bond. She's not in a position to pay bond, Your Honor. So I would ask the court to consider giving her a signature bond since this is a criminal trespass. If the court is not inclined to give her a signature bond, I think it will be another situation where she will be sitting in jail. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, well, she just can't keep coming back, Ms. McLeod. I mean, something's going on with Ms. Hollins that we need to figure out what's going
Your
on
Honor,
with her.
as a part of her plea to the case last week, she's required to undergo an ADET and MHET. She's also required to undergo both of those evaluations as a condition of the aggravated assault case that she's on probation for in Superior Court as well. And part of what Ms. McLeod had relayed was that there was a housing issue with Ms. Hollins, and based on her possibility that she may lose her housing voucher, the state agreed to have her plea out based on the time that she had served. It was 40 something days. We were asking for slightly more jail time, but in an effort to work with Ms. Hollins to help her with her housing situation, the state agreed. So at this point, it is incredibly frustrating that given all of that, it's been less than a week and now she's been rearrested again. And this is you've heard her criminal history. It's not good. And although this is only a criminal trespass, it's the reoffense that it keeps happening. I mean, we haven't even been a week, Your Honor. And frankly, if she's released, I would not be surprised to see her again in a couple of days. And it is what it is.
Okay, she's been ordered to have a MHET, is that right?
Yes,
Tatiana?
yes, Your Honor, that is correct.
Okay, so what I want to do is I want to get the MHET started. And I will take a look at this, take a look back at this. I'm between a rock and a hard place. I also don't want her to lose the opportunity to have housing. If she has housing.
Your
But-
Honor, we looked into this a little bit last week when Ms. McLeod and I were going back and forth about it. And it's my understanding that someone with Ms. Holland's arrest record in general can very likely lose their housing voucher based on all of the violent offenses. But again, the state gave her the benefit of the doubt because there was a concern that she was going to lose her voucher. And at this point, if the voucher was such an issue, Your Honor, then she wouldn't be here. And she was also working with an organization called Women on the Rise. And they were going to be helping her get everything situated. It's my understanding she was previously ordered to participate with Women on the Rise in her aggravated assault case. However, she's also not compliant with that. So we have a situation with someone that's just not complying with any of the conditions placed upon her. So that there's a concern that there's a risk of reoffense here. And given that most of her history is violent, Your Honor, this is a criminal trespass. We understand that, but.
Okay, I think what I'm gonna do, Ms. McLeod, it's gonna be a $250 good bond. I'm gonna be on the SAP calendar on November 12th. If you could work, and I don't know how, if we could see if we could start the paperwork or whatever for the MHET, so that at least I'll know that we can get that underway, so that, we can get that process started.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'll take a look at it again on November 12th if she's not able to bond out. So let's see what progress we can make on that in the next 2 weeks, because I don't want her to get lost in the system. I want her to be able to get the services that she needs to have. So it'll be a $250 good bond. Stay away from the BP on Windsor Street. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Let's see.
Your Honor,
Yes.
for
Was that
position,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Officer Milton.
okay, position 16, Ty Lindsay.
Yes.
The deputy came and got her. She was interviewed. And when I was getting ready to bring her upstairs, the deputy came and took her. Did not give me much of an explanation for it. But she was interviewed.
Okay, so you're telling me she's not going to be with us today?
No, Your Honor. The deputy came and got her.
Okay, so I guess we'll have to reset position 16, Ms. Lindsay, until tomorrow, 10:29.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm not sure whose case this is, Mr. Cook or Mr. McLean's.
I was thinking she was released.
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
Okay, well, if she was released, but then we won't see her tomorrow. If she wasn't, then we will see her tomorrow.
It does show that she was released on the
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Very good. So does that conclude the 2 o'clock calendar?
Yes, Your Honor. May we be excused?
Yes.
What's that bond amount for 12 again, Your Honor?
Say it again.
Position
You're
12.
excused, Officer Milton. Yes.
The bond for position number 12, what was that amount?
Number 12 was a $250 good bond.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Bridgewater is in court with me today, so as soon as she's ready, we'll go over the calendar.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is November the 12th. On the regular calendar, position number 1 is reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through pretrial. Position 2 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $3,500 good bond. 3 is reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 4 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $8,000 good bond. 5, the SAP calendar with a $1,000 cash bond. 6 is reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 7, reset further notice with a total $4,000 SOB through pretrial. 8, reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through the jail. 9 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $3,000 good bond. 10 is reset further notice with a $10,000 SOB through pretrial. 11 is reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 12 is going to the SAP calendar with a $250 good bond. 13, reset further notice with a total $5,000 SOB through pretrial. 14 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $1,000 good bond. 15 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $500 good bond. 16 is reset further notice as the defendant has been released. 17 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $3,500 good bond. 18, SAP calendar with a $2,000 good bond. 19, SAP calendar with a total $1,000 good bond. 20 is reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 21, reset further notice with a $1,000 SOB through pretrial. 22 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. Position 23, reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 24 is reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 25 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. 26 is reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 27 is reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. Now to the add-on calendar. Oops, if I can find it. Don't you have that calendar handy?
I do. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah. Okay.
Position 1, a $1,000 good bond. Position 2, a $4,000 SOB through pretrial. Okay, any questions, concerns? Okay, if not, thank you all. We appreciate it. I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good rest of your afternoon.
Bye-bye.